Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about chapter 216 of My Hero Academia because a lot of things happened this chapter. Well, not really a lot of things, but the things that did happen had a lot of value. Like they were really stuff that we care about and stuff that we wanted to see, but there was also a certain other thing at the end of the chapter that surprised a lot of people and which is potentially going to lead into the next arc, at least on some level. We don't really know to what extent really. So beginning with the beginning of the chapter and the majority of the chapter in fact, which was Shinso being sort of confirmed into the hero course starting his second year. Nothing really surprising as a whole because a lot of people were hoping he would be put into the hero course. It is something that Shinso have been wanting for a very long time. He always wanted to be at the hero course because he wants to save people. He wants to be a hero, despite the fact that, you know, in his earlier days, people were kind of like nagging him on that his quirk is more suited for villainous work rather than hero work, you know. So to see him actually being guaranteed a spot into the hero course starting his second year is something that I really enjoyed seeing. Of course, we don't really know if he's going to be put into class 1A or class 1B. That is something that remains to be seen. I'm kind of banking on class 1A, although I'd kind of like to see class 1B as well, because seeing him interact with Monoma is something that would be really interesting, I think, because of how Monoma was really treating Shinso compared to how he's treating some other people. You know, he seemed to really be kind of into Shinso on a more friendship level, and that is something that I wouldn't mind seeing more of, honestly, especially since Shinso could even help Monoma to just hate less on people. However, the reason I kind of think he's gonna join class 1A is because of the fact that Aizawa is the homeroom teacher of class 1A, and because of that alone, it helps Shinso a lot more because Aizawa is the one who taught Shinso how to utilize his scarf. And that is obviously a major part about Shinso as a fighter, at least. Like when he's going to go up against someone and fight someone, that scarf is going to mean a lot. So he's definitely gonna need some guidance from somebody like Aizawa, who has a lot of experience with that kind of style of fighting, as well as the fact that it would really open up a lot of room for Shinso and Midoriya to talk things out, practice together in fact, especially when Deku has a bigger grasp of how to use Black Whip, as well as the fact that he may want to contact these vestiges inside of him, and as far as we know so far, the only real reason he can't do that, at least on demand, is by having Shinso brainwash him. He doesn't really know how to trigger that himself. Like, it did happen in his sleep that first time around, but at the same time, he didn't really want that to happen. It wasn't really like he asked for it. It just kind of happened in his sleep when he was dreaming. You know, that's just something that really occurred. Whereas with Shinso, he can probably say with some certainty that if he does get brainwashed, then that is going to put him into that state where he needs to be in order to talk to these vestiges, and I think that is something that is going to play a big role in the future. Not really in the nearest future, of course, because of the fact that Shinso isn't going to be joining them until the second year. I just don't see Deku really being too much in contact with these vestiges until a later time. So, I mean, that's just my sort of theory or idea of how that's gonna play out. But it was just really nice seeing how he was, of course, as I said, confirmed into the hero course. And, you know, what Aizawa said made a lot of sense. You know, he was really acting or performing a lot better than maybe some other people did during their entrance exam when they started year one. So to see Shinso actually outperform some of that, even though he doesn't have a quirk that's suited for fighting at all. I mean, Shinso was just one of those people. He was just the unlucky draw at the time of the entrance exam, because that exam had to do with robots, and brainwashing doesn't work on a robot, so he'd have to really resort to physical prowess alone, and at the time he didn't really have enough of that, which caused a lot of problems. You know, when he applied to UA, to the hero course, he didn't really know. He didn't know what the entrance exam was going to be. He probably thought it was going to be something that's suited for everyone on some level, but turns out that wasn't really the case, and now he's being able to really overcome that sort of step that he previously couldn't because of how bad the sort of system was, really. Because let's be honest, the system of the entrance exam when Deku joined UA was really bad. It wasn't really great because of the fact that it really favored people with a lot of fighting capabilities over people who may have other strengths like analytic powers or something that simply hasn't to do with fighting at all. But yeah, that's really the gist of it, with Shinso and him joining the hero course. Now, what I really want to talk about other in this chapter, not the last thing I want to talk about, certainly one of the few things, because there isn't really that much happening in this chapter, as I said probably, but we had this moment with Ochako. Now, this is not really that important to the plot really, but what I really liked seeing was how Ochako was really being pushed into a corner by Mina when Mina is actually confronting Ochako about how she was diving onto Deku, hugging him without any sort of hesitation, it was just kind of straight out there, no hesitation at all. And Ochako, she doesn't really know what to say, she's just flustered at that point, and who can blame her, because at the end of the day, even though she probably wanted to save Deku, her emotions definitely had one part to play in why she acted so quickly. Another thing that I really found to be quite interesting, of course, when talking about the girls, was how Mina just straight up said that, Mineta was the worst, and, like, who can blame her, honestly? Like, if any other girl was in Mina's position during that match, I'd probably say the same thing, because what Mineta did, while he technically saved Mina, he also used that to his advantage by getting a cushion effect on her boobs, let's be honest. That's what he did, and that's probably one of the reasons he did it. But at the end of the day, he also helped her out, during the match, even though he was knocked out eventually. But that's beside the point. Again, I can just name some characters off the bat who already know the fury of Mineta, the absolute monstrosity of Mineta. When he wants to do something, it's gonna be bad. And you have Momo, you have Mina, you have Suyu. Those are just three characters right away that I can name that has had some sort of physical contact now with Mineta in a somewhat low-key sexual way, which in the real world would be considered sexual harassment, but this is My Hero Academia, so that doesn't really exist at all. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about in this chapter is, of course, Monoma, and there's actually two things to do with Monoma that I want to talk about. The first thing being him making a comment about One for All, which is quite interesting. He said that he now knows that he has that power, with the word that being emphasized quite a bit, and even Deku kind of picked up on that, as we saw in the chapter. He was questioning to himself, what did he mean by that? And, while it's true that it could be something so simple as him pointing out the power of Black Whip, that he now knows that Deku has more than just superpower up his sleeve, he can also use these tendrils that can just latch onto things. But there is that one chance, which actually I kind of think is the more likely, is that he is starting to really see something different about Deku's power. He's starting to really realize something, and maybe, just maybe, what if he knows that there is something about Deku's power that is linked to All Might? Now, I'm not trying to say that Monoma knows that he has One for All, because the name One for All has never really been brought to light. But what if he has some kind of idea of what his power is, much like Bakugo kind of figured out what his power was. Of course, with Bakugo, it was very different, because Deku technically told him that he had a borrowed power, so Bakugo had something to go off on. But Monoma might have actually figured things out on his own, because Monoma is a lot smarter than people think. He is actually extremely clever when it comes to certain things, and he might just have put the pieces together. He sees All Might's power dwindling, and he see Deku just grow and grow and grow, and he may even have heard from someone that Deku used to be quirkless, which is even a bigger hint. Now, I'm not saying that he has, but what if he has? Then that's gonna be something even extra that's gonna cause Monoma to believe that there is something extra about Deku that isn't just your ordinary quirk, and now this unusual new ability is sparking. And obviously he could tell that this power was not something that you'd really expect to see from your average quirk user, especially given how negatively Deku was reacting to it. He wasn't exactly, thrilled to see this power when he first erupted from his hand, because he didn't know what it was. He had no clue, and both Shinso and Ochako had to kind of intervene in order to really help him out. So Monoma probably, has some kind of suspicion, at least, that there is definitely something extra to Deku's quirk than what meets the eye. Now, the second thing that I really want to talk about is actually the very final page, because this is something that I don't think anyone saw coming at all. Like, I just do not believe that anyone could have ever predicted what we saw in the last page, which is that Monoma was requested to meet up with Aizawa and Eri the following day. Now, this is something that really surprised me, because while it's true that Eri is definitely someone that will be brought up again in the story, I didn't really think it was gonna be this soon, but what's even more surprising is the fact that the one who's going to meet with Eri is Monoma of all people. And when you kind of think about it, I guess it makes sense on some level because of the fact that he's able to copy quirks, and Eri, she cannot control her own power. Obviously she can't really train with it effectively against other people because she might end up killing someone, and she's kind of in a mentally bad state right now, apart from the fact that in the Culture Festival, which was a great arc by the way, despite what people say, it's definitely something that makes you think that Monoma might have a better idea of how to grasp the situation. He might be able to kinda work around that quirk a lot easier than Eri, who's in a mentally bad state, as well as the fact that she obviously is very new to this whole quirk thing, she doesn't really understand how to use it. Monoma, he has a good understanding of how to use quirks that aren't his own, and that's why he might have an edge in using Eri's quirk as well, because he seemed to be very confident when taking One for All that he would be able to use that power. Because I mean, he took One for All, and at the end of the day, yeah, he couldn't activate it, but he was very much confident that he would be able to, meaning that he had some sort of idea of how to use that power even before even having had it before. Like, he has clicked it on like that. Now, he didn't get the power, as I said, but at the end of the day, he had the quirk on him, and that goes for every other quirk as well. Like, this guy, he has picked other people's quirks and used them perfectly, almost. I mean, looking at the sports festival, he has grabbed Kirishima's quirk right away. He was able to harden without any sort of difficulty. He knew exactly how to trigger that particular power. So there's definitely a lot of interesting things to do with Monoma when you think about what is going to happen with him and Eri. There's certainly potential to be had. And if this is leading up to the next arc, I can't wait, because I really want to see what Horikoshi has in mind between these two characters. Because if these two characters are going to be working together in some way, then I really need to see what it is. Because at the end of the day, if he's gonna copy Eri's quirk, then Eri doesn't have to suffer any extra trauma. She doesn't really have to be reminded of what's going on. All he has to do is touch Eri once, and he has that quirk for at least, what is it, 5 minutes? I don't remember exactly how long it is. It's probably longer than that, to be honest, but at least a single touch and he has her quirk on him, and then he can use it. Now, I don't really know, is this something that he and Aizawa have been talking about, for a while off screen that we don't know about, or is it actually something completely new to Monoma and he's just being brought into it right now? Because maybe this match brought light to Aizawa and he now wants to see if Monoma can help out with the whole Eri situation. Maybe they're actually working towards restoring Mirio's quirk, which is something that has been brought up in regards to Eri's power. Now, is it gonna happen? I don't know, maybe, but we're just gonna have to wait and see. I don't mind if he gets his power back. I'd prefer if he didn't, but at the same time, if it does and it's done properly and really well, I have no issues with it, Anyway, that's gonna be it for this review. I hope you liked it. I hope you liked this chapter. I know I did. This chapter was fucking amazing. And yeah, I'd love to know what you think down below in the comments, exactly what were your thoughts on the chapter, and what do you think is gonna happen between Monoma and Eri? What is this that Monoma is referring to in regards to One for All? Let me know what you think, exactly how you think everything's gonna play out, and what did you think about the whole Shinso situation? Personally, I'm banking on him joining 1A in the second year, but I wouldn't mind him joining 1B, or in this case it's gonna be 2B at that time, of course. But yeah, so with that said, I hope you liked it, and be sure to Detroit smash that like button if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. This has been Chaotic Plus, and remember everyone, Mina is waifu, Mina is life.